Can't do the intro by muted.
We were both muted.
There we go. That's a good start. Welcome into another edition of Say Hey Plays. Same guys, different show title. My name's Jose Bouquet. That is Andrew Santangelo over there. And this is the final one of our 2021 division previews. And we're going west, Andrew, to arguably the most exciting division in baseball, the NL West, the Padres, the Dodgers, and everyone else. Andrew, you excited?
I was going to say, most exciting division of baseball might be an overstatement. Top two teams. That's the most exciting top two.
You're probably right about that. I cannot argue with that right there. But I'm excited to talk about them. We're going to go to the West here, and it's going to be a great time. But let's. I think we should just jump right into it, Andrew. Let's talk about the defending World Series champions, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
The Los Angeles Dodgers. Let's go over their additions and subtractions because they've got a couple notable ones. Additions. Trevor Bauer. Ever heard of him? Best pitcher in baseball. Maybe one of the most unlikable pitchers in baseball, but I still like him. Tommy Canley, Brandon Morrow, and Corey Knebel all come in. Some losses. They lose Kike Enrique Hernandez. I was about to call him Iglesias. Jock Peterson, Jake McGee, Pedro Baez, Alex Wood, Dylan Floro, and Adam Kolarnik all leave. I think we should get best case, worst case out of the way as well. Best case, they repeat as World Series champions. Worst case, they don't win the division. They make the playoffs anyways. And they lose to the Padres in the division series. I think that would be the worst case for them. But I think that's, going a little too far. But, I mean, worst case, like we said, they're going to make the playoffs. So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, no, best case, obviously, and they should win another World Series. They obviously have the talent. You had a guy like Trevor Bauer. You only get better this offseason as a World Series champion. It says it all right there. But no, like you said, worst case, I mean, you do have a very good team behind you that we'll talk about here shortly that could beat you out for that division. So worst case would maybe be that in that situation. But even that, there really is no worst case for this team because there's no way they don't make the playoffs unless something like dramatic happens to one of the players or multiple players. Because that's the thing. Even if you lose one player, well, guess what? They're so filled up on that roster, they can just replace them. Like, imagine if, like, just for whatever reason, say Walker Buehler got hurt or whatever. You replace him with a Dustin May. Like, most teams would take him as a 2 or 3.
It's crazy. Walker's been struggling in spring. His spin rate and velocity has been down. And let's say, maybe they do lose a Walker Buehler. Guess what? Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin right there to step right in and be a serviceable pitcher. So you're totally right about that. I mean, the depth's off the charts. This team is ridiculous. There's really not much else we can say. They're the best team in baseball, I think.
I don't know, without question, top to bottom. I mean, even the bullpen isn't bad. Like, no one's going to sit here and say they have a bad bullpen because the bullpen's going to come in and do their job as well. We saw that last year.
I had them last year to win the World Series. I had that future along with the Rays, so I double dipped and made some money that time. But I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't be putting down the Dodgers again. OddsShark has them at plus 300 right now. That might be a little less. I have them actually as well. I think I have them at plus 400. I took the future right after the news of Trevor Bauer signing came out, so I took that future immediately as well. I mean, they're a juggernaut. No team has repeat since the Yankees in, oh my God, I forgot the year already. I think it's 0102.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Dodgers are ridiculous. There's not much else we can really say about that. Andrew, who's your player to watch on this squad?
So when I was looking at this, obviously it's pretty hard to pick a guy considering all the talent that's on this roster. We all know him. So I'm going to go with the guy that's coming back after sitting out last year, and that's David Price, a guy you're probably a little familiar with. I think what was that?
I've heard of him.
Heard of him? Okay. No, I think he's a guy that we'll see what he's able to do. Obviously, a year older. I think he's around 35 now. So he's a left-hander. He's coming off a full off season. We'll see kind of what work he did in staying in game shape. Obviously, with that whole year, it's obviously could be a problem. So I'm interested to see what he's able to do. I think he's expected to probably be the 4th starter in that rotation behind the trio of Kershaw, Bauer, and Buehler. So we'll see what happens. And I think, again, he's a guy that I think if he's able to step in and be a 4 starter and be what he used to be, I mean, that's just another guy that probably would be a 2 in most teams' rotations. But I'm kind of more just – the reason why I really want to watch him is see what kind of start he had. And this is similar to Marcus Stroman with the Mets is who's he going to be? Is he going to be the David Price of old, or is he going to be a guy that has sat out a year?
Yeah, and I think as of right now, he's actually not even in the rotation. I mean, we're recording this show of transparency. We're recording it of opening day, and as of right now, he is. I don't think he's in the rotation. He's coming out of the bullpen, so I think it'll be interesting to see. I'm not absolutely sure though. I mean, he could bounce back and forth. I think he's being paid a lot of money, obviously, but I think money is not really an issue for the Dodgers here. So I'll be thinking.
No, never is.
Yeah, so I think it'll be interesting to see what they do with him. I hope he goes into their starting rotation though, at some point. And depth, really, pitching depth is the most important thing this season. So I mean, yeah, they're just set up perfectly. My guy is their closer, or is it? It's Blake Trinan. Blake Trinan is right now as their setup guy. They've had an interesting time with Kenley Jansen. He's been their closer forever, but the last couple of years he's been tailing off. And last year it got to the point. I mean, they still won the World Series, but it got to the point where they had to start getting a little more creative in the ninth inning. They had to go to a Julio Urias in the playoffs. They had to use Trinan in certain situations, and it blew my mind. It shocks me, whatever the adjective you want to use, that Blake Trinan was a free agent and they picked him up and no one seemed to want him. And he's incredible. He's got power sinker. He throws 100. He had one bad year with the A's after a literally historic year. And the Dodgers picked him up for 1 year, $10 million last year. And I forget what they signed him for this past year, but he's a great reliever. And if Kenley Jansen struggles to start off the season, because the Dodgers definitely do have that luxury where they can go to Kenley to start off the season to see how it goes. And then if it goes poorly, they can go to Trinan. They can go to a Julio Urias if they want to. They've got options. But I think my prediction would be that Blake Trinan by the postseason is the Dodgers closer. Or he is taking the ball in the biggest of innings, getting the final outs of your game, whatever you want to define your closer as.
Okay. I like that pick. That's a good sneak pick. And, I mean, that's the other thing. They got so many different options they could do there. I mean, if Julio Reyes struggles out as a starter, and we saw what he did last year in the postseason, I think he had multiple 3-inning saves, so you can even move him back in the pen and use him long term. So that's the nice part about being a Dodgers fan. If you are one, you got so many different options to do.
Yeah, no, you're completely right about that. Must be nice. All right, Andrew, let's get to the over-under here. They're over-under a whopping 102 wins for the Dodgers. 102 wins for this squad. Like I said earlier, their World Series odds are plus 300. Andrew, what about that over-under? Do you like 103 wins for the squad?
Obviously, that sounds like a lot of wins, and it's tough to figure out what you want to do there with that many, but I think you have to take the over, right? I mean, this team, all they do is find ways to win. This team only improved this offseason. And again, I know the Padres are good and that'll be competition in the division. But then you got to remember, I mean, they should beat up on the Giants. They should beat up on the Diamondbacks, and they should beat up on the Rockies that the main teams are going to be facing. So they should get wins in that case. Obviously, being in the NL, they'll face a lot of the NL Central, which we obviously went through and we talked about. And outside the Cardinals, that's another division they're going to be able to kind of beat up on a little bit. So I'm going to take the over. I think as long as they stay healthy and everything, I don't see why they can't.
I'm going to take the under of 102. I know you might be a little surprised to hear that.
I'm surprised.
But I have a feeling that a little NBA-ification might happen, you know. Let's rest our guys. Let's take some days off. Let's try to get them ready, healthy for the postseason. And I think that all could lend them to losing a couple more games than they should. Maybe just 100 wins. Only 100 wins, or only 90 wins, or something like that.
The other thing I think about, would you say this team is better than the 2019 team?
No, I don't think so. I mean, that's tough. Trevor Bauer is pretty freaking good, so I guess so. As of right now, I'll just reverse.
Well, Betts wasn't there in 19, right?
2019. Yeah, no way. 2020 happened, so yeah, no. Betts was in Boston still.
So they won 100, and they won 106 games in 2019, and they added Betts and Bauer from that after that 2019 season.
That's a good point. I'm still gonna take the under, but that's a good point. That's pretty incredible. Jesus. All right. Any final thoughts on the Dodgers before we head out of here?
Yeah, I wish they could give me some of their players.
All right, good. I wish they would give me back specifically one player, but we're not going to say his name on this program. Next, San Diego Padres, the fathers, everyone's dads, the darlings of baseball right now. Everything. I mean, they can't do anything wrong, Andrew. They can't do anything
No.
wrong, and it's pretty surprising. As I'm looking over my paper here, full of additions and subtractions, I realized that I stopped at this squad apparently, and I did not do subtractions or additions for the following squad. So that's good, but we're gonna keep rolling, and it's gonna be great. The San Diego Padres, they added Ha-Sung Kim, the best KBO prospect. They add him to give some infield depth. Joe Musgrove, Victor Caratini, Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, and Mark Melanson, a.k.a. Mark Melancone. The backstop, the battery of Caratini and Darvish is going to be a fun time to watch. Snell, I mean, he's a borderline ace, number one guy now, and we all saw what he did in the postseason. He won a lot of people over. I mean, if you haven't heard, they also signed the face of baseball to 12-year deal, I believe, 112, $350 million deal for Fernando Tatis Jr. He came out of a spring training game a little hurt, but I'm sure he's going to be fine. That was all precautions. I'll move on to best case, worst case real quick. Best case, they win the division and they win the World Series. I think obviously this team has the talent to do it. They're trying to win the World Series. Their front office is trying to win the World Series, which again is a lot more than we can say about most people. But I think it's really that time. The fathers they were knocking on the door last year, and I think they easily could be a World Series candidate. And worst case. I mean, they're not gonna not miss the playoffs. I mean, okay, well, make the case, Andrew. I'd love to hear it.
Okay, so first I would pick them. I'm just going off worst case. Worst case would be to miss the playoffs. In my eyes, you're already dealing with a couple injuries that you have on this roster. So we'll see what that's able to do. I think they already have 4 or 5 on the IL to start the year. I know they expected Clevenger, but then LeMahieu's on the IL already. They have a couple bullpen pieces I'm not going to get into, but Austin Nola, he's on the IL already, and then as well as I think expected starting center fielder at the time, Trent Grisham, he's on the IL as well. So you're already dealing with a couple injuries, so we'll see what kind of happens in that sense. But most importantly, I mean, if you're facing the Dodgers and they're able to obviously beat you out as expected, and we've already talked about how good the NL East could be, if one of those teams, whether it's the Mets, like whoever kind of shapes out there in the NL East, if one of those teams are able to find a way to beat you out, and I think obviously he had a really good year last year and he can repeat it. I am a little concerned about Yu Darvish at the top of that rotation, though, and even Blake Snell. I mean, we all have seen what kind of starters they've been. Like, they're either really on and in the Cy Young race the entire year, or we've all seen their bad years when they have like mid-4 ERAs. So I don't know. Maybe you're not concerned about that, but I am a little concerned of that top of the rotation. Just which 2 guys are you going to get? And that's what kind of concerns me. And that's why I think like it's obviously not like I want to go betting on them to miss the playoffs. But I think it is a slight worst case scenario kind of type of pick.
No, you're right. And making the wild card in the NL is going to be kind of a struggle, like you said. I mean, the Phillies are good, the Braves are good, the whole NL East is good, and one team can win the division. So be interesting to see how it goes. We have I feel stupid asking this question, Andrew, but are there 1 or 2 wild cards? I don't even remember.
It's not stupid because MLB doesn't even know probably.
No, and also, do we have a DH?
They said they were voting on it overnight, but there was never a ruling. But as of now, pitchers are batting, so no, there's no DH. But no, there are 2 wild card spots this year. Then they'll do the normal wild card teams play each other, and then the winner of the wild card matchup gets the number 1 seed.
Well, then, yeah. I mean, the Phillies are going to be good this year, I think, and the Braves are going to be good. So are the Nationals, all those teams. Maybe one of them steals a playoff spot from the Padres, but that would be a huge disaster. But you said worst case. We say worst case. All right. Players to watch for the squad, Andrew. I will go first.
Okay.
Because I have 2 actually, but one I couldn't find any video for because he has not played in the major leagues, and that is Ha-Sung Kim. I'll make that one quick. I think it'll be fun to watch. I enjoy these overseas prospects. How will he adjust to Major League Baseball? How will his minutes or how many innings will he get with Jake Cronenworth and Tatis and Machado and all those guys? So we'll see how many innings he gets. My actual guy, though, is Chris Paddock, the sheriff. He had a pretty bad year last year. I'm not gonna lie. Every time I saw him on the mound, I didn't expect much from him. But he really has good stuff. He's kind of gotten lost in the shuffle after all of these additions. He was one of their better pitching prospects, and now with Snell, Musgrove, Darvish, all those guys, he's been pushed to the back. And he's been forgotten, and he could be a excellent number 5 starter. Oh my, like overqualified as hell because he could be
Absolutely.
easily a number 2, 3 somewhere else. I just need him to see him to put it together, locate your stuff. He's got a great changeup. Use that fastball that overpowers people. Just locate, and hopefully this year, last year, like I said, he struggled. Maybe he'll use this year to rebound, springboard, and use some of those pitching minds to help him out.
Yeah, no, I like that pick. Solid pick. I'm going to stay in the rotation as well, and it's a guy I already mentioned. I'm going to go with a guy I've talked about a lot on the show and kind of debated with you a little bit here and there, and that's Blake Snell. I think they obviously put in their chips and went out and traded for him, picked him up. We all know, we heard the reports that he was starting to get a little unhappy about not being able to usually go past that 5th or 6th inning. We obviously saw it as a big spot in the World Series, and I think that was kind of the last straw for the whole situation, and they kind of both kind of mutually agreed to move on. And I think when you do all that, you get your wish here, and you'll be in a spot where you can get past that 5th inning, and you kind of gotta put your money where your mouth was and kind of finish it out with that. And I think, again, I kind of mentioned it, he kind of has been up and down in his career since 2016, from a 3.54 ERA to 4.04, 189, 4.29, and then a 3.24 last year. And again, it's like, which Blake Snell is it going to be this year? I think obviously when Blake Snell's on, he's one of the best in the league, but the question is, again, which one's going to show up, especially when you're going up against a very high-powered offense in the Dodgers? And is he going to? And obviously, he was able to pitch pretty well last year in the World Series, but is he going to be able to match that? So I'm really excited to watch what kind of, and especially now being matched up with it. If it's going to be Trevor Bauer, Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw, whenever they play each other for the first time, wherever they are at in the rotations, we'll see. And he's going to have a lot of pressure on him, and stakes will be high. And I'm interested to see if he can handle it.
No, yeah, I agree. Let's go on to the World Series odds and over unders. Andrew, over under 94.5 for this Padres squad. I mean, we have not seen them do it in a whole year, but I mean, they've got one of the best teams in baseball, so it's not a surprise at all. Their World Series odds are plus 800 currently. Andrew, what do you think?
I'm going to give me the over. I'm going to say about 96 wins. 96 to 97 wins, and then obviously just in a tough spot to win that division because I picked the over with the Dodgers as well, so obviously that'll be a tough one to steal from them. But no, I think they get past that 94 mark.
I'm gonna go. That's such a good number.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be right along those lines. Like, that is a really good pick.
I'm gonna go over 96, and the Dodgers win the division by 3 games at 99.
Okay.
We'll see about that. These, like we said, this episode was mainly going to be Dodgers and Padres if you're watching. But if you're a fan of these next teams, here's your moment in the sun. Here it is. Let's make this a little quicker though, Andrew, because like we said, this is really the Padres division, the Dodgers division, and everyone else. Following these two squads up, the San Francisco Giants. I don't have their additions and subtractions for you. I can't even say subtractions, but best case, worst case for these Giants, I can't imagine them making the playoffs because, like we said, the NL wild card is going to be a dogfight this year. Worst case, I mean, I honestly don't think this would be a worst case, but if they ended up with one of the worst records in baseball, I'm sure they wouldn't mind a high pick. But I guess worst case, Donnie Barrels, Mike Yastrzemski, all those guys, they kind of take a step back and they don't show how good they were these previous years, and the moves that ownership and the general managers making aren't coming through for them.
Yeah, I kind of wish I knew a Giants fan just to see like what their like expectations and everything were. Just because like obviously last year they fought. I know it was an expanded playoffs, but they fought for a playoff spot for the majority of the year. Kind of fell out the last game or two of the season. I think they actually were playing for a spot that last day of the season, and they just got so many veterans on their team, and it almost looks like they're just like waiting for them to retire. Like, rather than trying to like move on from them and start making that turn or the rebuild mode, like they're just still rolling out with the same guys, and they're not making any progression. They're not regressing. They're just staying pat, and they're just like okay with being like that mediocre team that's never really going to go anywhere, but it's never going to be worse enough to be a top 5 pick. I mean, you just look at quickly just some of those guys on the team: Johnny Cueto, Kevin Gausman, Anthony DeSclafani, Alex Wood, and then you have Buster Posey coming back, Brandon Belt, Brandon Crawford, Evan Longoria. Like they're just all veterans who used to be like always in the conversation for like one of the best at their position, but now they're just kind of like staying pat at the same like spot, and they're just not making any movement. It's just a weird organization.
Yeah, it's weird. It's super weird. And this might be the last year of Buster Posey. Maybe they trade Johnny Cueto. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see how this team, what they do, because they're a fun team to watch. But like you say, they're firmly behind both the teams in front of them in the division, and making the wild cards already tough as it is. So, let's move on to players to watch, Andrew. I'd like for you to go first this time. Who's your guy to watch?
I'm picking another guy that's coming back after that year off, and that's Buster Posey. I think obviously he's always been a guy that's been able to hit the ball, and he's always done things the right way, and just not having his bat last year obviously hurt. He's always been a guy who would still hit for average. I know, again, he's not the same guy he used to be in his prime, but he hit 284 the year before 2 years before the year off, and then he still had in a shortened year. I think when he got hurt, he batted only 257. But he's a guy where if he can kind of return to that 284 to 300 kind of range, he'd be an exciting player to watch and help this team. Whether it's him stay there till the end of the year or him moving on somewhere else as like a DH, if he's able to hit and provide with that power or provide with that spark, and we'll see what he's able to do. I just think, again, just a weird Giants team, but he's the guy I'd most look forward to watching on that team.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely understand. He's on the last or the second to last year of an 8-year, $159 million contract. Do you think? Well, I'll start with this. Is this his last year? Yes or no? I mean, they have a team option, or he has a team option for his last year, but I don't expect that to be taken at $22 million.
I know this sounds like the easy way. I just think it honestly depends on what kind of year he has. Like if he clearly doesn't have any more and the year off really hurt him and he comes out and he's hitting like 200 to the 220 range, which I don't think's out of the question, but you see some of these guys when they take it off, then yeah, I think it will be his last year. He's already got the ring, the World Series titles and stuff, and he's obviously been in the league for a while. But if he comes out and hits 285, which I mean would be a really good number for him, especially after that year off, but he's hitting 285, still keeping up with everything, and he wants to try to move on somewhere. And I think it'd be his last year at the Giants, if I'm being honest. But in the league, if he has a decent year, I could see him playing somewhere else.
Okay, my second question quickly: a trade, Buster Posey trade? Could you see that?
Yes, I could.
I couldn't, just because he is literally like the franchise cornerstone. That guy, I think the Giants are one of those franchises that like to hold on to those dudes and make them a Giant for life. So I think that'll be interesting to see.
They are, but I also think he wants to win. So I think they'd honor him if he said, I want to go try to win, if he's actually having that good of a year.
Fair enough. My guy quickly is Donovan Solano. I mentioned him early. Donnie Barrels had a very interesting year. He popped off for the first half of the season. Hit some clutch home runs. He only hit 3 of them, but they always were in good moments. Barrels up the baseball, like his name says. Donnie Barrels, one of the best nicknames in baseball. So will he bounce back? Will he keep living up to the nickname? I would really appreciate if he did, because I really enjoy the nickname. So Donnie Barrels, I hope you come through for us here. All right. Any last thoughts on these? Oh no, we have over under. Oh, what a silly fool I am. Over under 75.5 wins for the San Francisco Giants. That is the Mariners zone right there. I can see a lot of similarities with those two teams.
I was going to say, yeah, it makes sense.
I'm gonna go under here. It's just you got to play the toughest 2 teams in baseball a couple times, like every month basically. The AL West is pretty tough. I mean, I know the Rangers are garbage. Shout out to Sam, but I mean, you still have the A's, you still have the Astros. I'll take the under there.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna go about 70. So I'm gonna say under as well. I just think, again, a lot of older veterans that are gonna continue. They're all a year older. They're not getting any younger. So I think they're gonna kind of hit that same regression kind of step. And they barely played 5 or close to 500 last year in a shortened year. So if you expand that, I think it's gonna keep on dropping, and then I expect to see like Cueto traded.
Okay. All right. Next team, arguably the team that had the worst offseason in baseball, the Colorado Rockies. They are literally paying Nolan Arenado and the St. Louis Cardinals. They paid him $50 million to not play on their team. They don't have the goodwill of any fans. They are one of the most mismanaged teams in baseball. But I mean Coors, and they have cool uniforms, and they have a great mascot, and Coors looks really cool at night. So at least there's that, right, Andrew?
Right. I mean, hey, ups their hitting stats too, right?
Yeah. Trevor
That's what everyone
Story.
says.
Trevor Story, he's there
He's a
for
guy.
one more year after he didn't sign an extension this offseason and now is going to become a free agent next year.
Traded.
So yeah, we'll probably see that. But I mean, the additions and subtractions, you don't really know anything else besides they lost to Nolan Arenado, their best third baseman of their franchise. I'll just go ahead and move into player to watch because there's not much else to say about these Rockies, like we've said. Player to watch for me is Andrew. Did you know this? Andrew, did you hear about this? That Josh Fuentes is Nolan Arenado's cousin. Did you know that? Did you hear about this?
I did not know that.
Well,
You got me.
Joshua Fuentes is his cousin, Nolan Arenado.
Oh.
I don't know if you knew that. But he basically looks like a little mini version of Nolan Arenado. It's pretty funny. If you look at his swing specifically, his swing is basically the same as Nolan's. You know, they probably work out in the off season together, and he just copies everything that he does. And hopefully, perhaps he'll have a decent year and make Rockies fans feel probably even worse that they traded his cousin away. So I'll take Joshua Fuentes there.
I'll have to look that up later. I'm gonna write that down.
Okay, Joshua Fuentes. Yeah, you'll be able to have a good laugh. If we were Alex Fast and Pitching Ninja and all those guys, we would put overlays on top of them, throw them on top of each other, and watch how similar their swings are. It's pretty funny. Who's your guy?
I'm going with Ryan McMahon. I think he's a guy that has to step up in this lineup if they want to be anywhere relevant. We've seen in the past they've kind of got off those fast starts and then kind of dropped off. But no, he's a guy. He hits for power. He had 24 home runs and 83 RBIs in the last full season. He played in 141 games that year. His average has continued to be kind of really low, so it's a spot to see him kind of hopefully expand on. He was a guy that Rockies drafted and had high hopes for, and he's kind of never really turned into that guy. But he was a second-round pick back in 2013, and I think he was the original guy why they let DJ LeMahieu go. Right? Correct if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure he was the one. I think obviously they're kicking themselves on that one right now. He's had the power. He had 24 home runs in the last full year, but last season he only had 215 and 250 the year before that. So definitely a spot in that lineup that they need to hopefully they see get back to a guy that they thought was going to be good enough to replace DJ LeMahieu when they let DJ walk. So he's definitely underperforming than what they thought.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't really add much because I don't watch the Rockies. So over under 63.5, under. Worst team in baseball right here.
Okay, you're going that far?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to agree. You said 63.5, right?
Yeah.
So that'd be 63.99. That'd be close. They're going to lose 100 games?
Absolutely.
So
absolutely, no doubt in my mind.
All right, I'll take the under with you.
Okay, thank you. Last team, as we move along this division quickly, and I keep looking back, by the way, because baseball is happening, and I just want to check the scores. But last team, the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Snakes in the Desert. One of the most boring teams every year. There is not really much to say about this team besides not Keone Kela. The second baseman's already fucking left my head. Andrew, who's their star second baseman?
Ketel Marte.
Ketel Marte. There you go.
If he plays all over the place, though. So
Yeah.
who even knows where within this lineup?
Yeah, he's great. I keep calling him Keone Kela, apparently, so I'm not going to say his name anymore. But he's a stud. Zach Gallen, who was supposed to be good, is they're supposed to be the number one, but of course, since we're antiquated, he gets hurt hitting. I believe did he get hit or did he get hit taking a swing or
No, he strained something on a swing. He didn't get hit. He messed it. It was something with a swing. I forget what his exact injury is, but
I'm glad that we have pitchers hitting. So shout out to that. I'm gonna move on to player to watch on this Diamondbacks team. My guy is Madison Bumgarner. He is signed for a long, long time. I'm actually gonna look it up here in a second after I let you talk here, Andrew. But he is signed for a very, very long time. He is their opening day starter. They need something. They need a full season. It doesn't even have to be a full good season. Just a full season of Madison Bumgarner out here. I think I put him on here because I think we need to see something from him. And I don't want to say this, but he might be closer to ranch hand than he is starting MLB pitcher now.
Wow, bold take.
Yeah.
Nah, he has to turn into, and that's the thing. Diamondbacks always sign these guys they're expecting to be that good, and they just don't like. They were expecting to have Bumgarner, and then they obviously signed Greinke for a little while, and he never really panned out. Remember, I think 2-3 years ago, this team was actually supposed to be really good.
Mm-hmm. When they first signed him, and I could have told you when they signed that this contract was not going to work. It was ridiculous in his face. He was regressing. He's older. I mean, it's crazy contract. By the way, Andrew, I just want to jump in real fast. It's 2022. He's getting $19 million this year, $23 million the next year, $23 million the next year, $14 million in 2024, and then he becomes a free agent.
That's insane. Isn't he lucky?
Yeah, he gets $15 million deferred, $5 million each from 2021 to 2023. So, man, and he has a limited no trade clause too. So
does he really?
He's
kind of made.
He only has 5 teams on it, which is kind of funny. I would love to know what those 5 teams are specifically. Maybe they're the worst teams in baseball, but he's already on one, so I don't know. So, but Madison Bumgarner has to do well this year. Yeah, he absolutely has to revive your career. Hopefully, I need to see it.
Well, yes, if he does well, he'll be trying to get traded now. Depending on that, if he waives that no trade clause, they got no business keeping him, right?
I don't think his contract's tradable. I don't think so.
Well, you'd have to eat some of it, but we've seen teams eat stuff in the past. I mean, just ask the Rockies.
But the Rockies are trading a good player, so I don't know. But they're trading a good player to. It makes me sad every day thinking about that. Who's your player to watch?
My player to watch is the guy you just mentioned getting hurt, and that's Zach Gallen. I mean, I had hope for him. He was supposed to make that next step, and I mean, he had a really good 2019, 2020 year. He was 25 years old, still making that stride in. He was an early 3rd-round pick out of North Carolina, and I think they were expecting him to be a top-notch player in that rotation. I honestly thought he had a shot to pitch opening day for him. Honestly,
yeah, he was going to be there.
That's what I thought. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I never heard him finalize, but either way, yeah, he was doing that well. I think they're finalized.
That's the issue.
Was he part of the Goldschmidt trade?
I'll look that up for you right now.
Because he got drafted by the Cardinals. I just can't remember if he was part of it.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
But so he was. I know it might have been Luke Weaver. I think Luke Weaver was the pitcher traded.
I'm looking.
But anyway, yeah, no, I had high hopes for him, but I mean, I think he should be back by mid-April. I don't think there's anything serious that's going to keep him out too long term. But I think he's going to be the center part of the Diamondbacks rotation long term. Whenever they kind of do that full-on rebuild, and he'll be the ace in the staff.
Well, Andrew, Zach Gallen was a Marlin. A Marlin. I forgot about this. And they traded him for Jazz Chisholm. So
he must have got traded from the Cardinals to the Marlins in the Marcell Ozuna trade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, he was the Marcell Ozuna trade piece, and then he went for Jazz Chisholm, which is a fucking terrible deal. I mean, It's a bad deal for the. I mean, Gallen's a good pitcher. He's a great pitcher, but the issue is that he's good now, and the Diamondbacks are not good. So
Yeah. So Luke Weaver was the guy traded, right?
I couldn't tell you. Let me see.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you had the Goldschmidt trade. You just look up.
No. I just had Zach Gallen.
Okay.
The Goldschmidt trade was shitty too. So, but let's get into the final over-under. Yes, the final over-under of our preview, Andrew. It is 74.5. Again, firmly in the Marlins zone or the Mariners zone. I think the Marlins are in that number too, actually. But what do you say here, Andrew? Over-under 74.5.
I think this team is going to be better than the Giants. I took the under at 75.5 for the Giants, but I think no. I take that back. I think the Giants are going to be better, so I'll stick with the under.
I was gonna call you out there. I was going to say the Giants are better than the squad. I think the Giants are better. I think I'm going to take the under. I think it'll be around 70 games as well. I think the Giants won like 72-ish. And yeah, this division is like I said, no one's watching any of these teams right now.
Dodgers versus Padres. That's the division.
Dodgers versus Padres.
Let's rename it.
Yep, the Dodgers versus Padres division, sponsored by Capital Morgan. Let's just do that. So, Andrew, do you have any final thoughts about this division before we head out of here? Nice little quick show. Like we said, it's opening day right now, so happy opening day to everyone. But I'm gonna try to post this and edit this as soon as possible.
Yeah, final thought would just be I think my order would be Dodgers, Padres, Giants, Diamondbacks, Rockies. I think you would agree with me on that one. Yep. But no, it's gonna be fun watching the top of these two teams battle between the Dodgers and Padres. Let's hope for the best and hope for a long-standing season for them.
Yeah, and thank you guys for watching all these division previews. If you've watched all the ones, we appreciate you guys the most. We're going to actually, this is a pre-recorded show, but we're going to go hop over to Say Hey Plays, the gambling edition, the actual gambling edition of what Say Hey Plays is actually going to be. Say Hey Plays will not be this long, lengthy conversation. That will more be a Pub Sports Radio baseball show thing. Say Hey Plays is going to be specifically like 10, 15 minutes gambling little segments that we have. We'll go live like every day, basically. And we will try to give you guys some winners daily. So we are going to hop over there now. Since, like I said, this is a pre-recorded, so thank you for watching if you did. And if you didn't watch, screw you. And watch the next one, please. And we'd appreciate that very much. Hopefully we give you guys some winners. Andrew, thanks for joining me, as always. We will,
no problem.
We'll
thanks
talk
for hosting.
Yeah, no, hey, no problem. We'll talk here in like 5 minutes. So thanks everyone for watching. Fish with Arms. Baseball season is back. Miguel Cabrera hit a home run on opening day. Everything's right with today. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Wear a mask. See you guys later.